Good morning. So today I'm going to be reviewing for the first test, quiz 1 or test 1. It's going to be on chapters 1 and chapters Appendix A and B. So it's just a review of everything that you should have already had in EET 100 or what you're learning in EET 100 right now. So there's going to be 24 questions on the test with 2 bonus questions. Okay, the bonus questions are going to add up to 8 points. So shouldn't be too hard. Show your work where needed, and when you take the exam, you will scan in your scratch paper so that you can get partial credit if it is partial credit. You know, if it requires partial credit. Okay, and I'll write that up also. So first, let's talk about the very first problem on the test, the first 2. You're going to write the following numbers in scientific notation. Now remember, with scientific notation, it's written as a product of a number between 1 and 10. Okay, 1 and 10, and the power of 10. So it looks something like m times g to the 10th, something like that, okay? Or, I'm sorry, 10, let's redo this, 10 to the n, okay? And this m is 1 through 10. So let's look at one. If we had 2580, and I told you to write this in scientific notation, then you're going to move the decimal place until it's a number between 1 and 10. So if we move it to, let's say here, that's going to be 25.80, and that's higher than the number 10. So we need to move it over one more. So that's going to be 2.58 times, now how many times did we move it? 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be 10 to the 3rd. Okay? Now, let's do one more. What if we had 54,600? Okay? So again, we're going to put the decimal place here. Okay? So that's going to be 5.46 times 10 to the 4th. Okay. So that's how you do those 2. Now, that's going to be the first 2 problems. Let's do one with a decimal. Let's do one like this, 0.0815. Now this one you're going to move it the opposite way. Now remember, it's positive if you're moving it to the left. It's going to be negative if you move it to the right. So this one, we want to put the decimal here because 8 is between 1 and 10. So it's going to be 8.15 times 10, and that's going to be to the negative 2 because you're moving the decimal to the right. Okay? Let's try one more. Let's do this one. 0.12365. Okay? That's going to be in scientific notation again. We're going to move it to here. 6.5 because that's between 1 and 10. So 6.5 times 10, and we're going to move the decimal 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 to the negative 4. Okay? So that's how you're going to do the first 2 problems. Now, the second 2 problems, 3 and 4, you're going to write the following in scientific notation. You're going to put them in a decimal form. So you're going to have something like this. To put it in a decimal form, let's say 3.75 times 10 squared. Okay? So you're going to move, you see it moved it 2 places here, so you're going to move it this way, and it's just going to be 375. Let's try another one. What if we had 1.09 times 10 to the 5th? So now we're going to move this decimal 5 places. So we remove it 2, and then we're going to need to add 3 zeros. So that's going to be 109,000. Okay? So that's how you do those. Now let's do one with the negative. So what if we had 2.88 times 10 to the negative 2? Okay? Remember, to negative now, you're going to move it this way, to the left. So that's going to be, you're going to move it 2 places, 1, 2. So 0.0288. Okay? And that's how you do those type of problems. Okay. Now the next type you're going to do is metric length. So you're going to fill in the blank. You're going to go to 3 decimal places when needed. I'm going to give you the conversion. So if you need to do meters to kilometers or feet and inches and so forth, I'm going to give you these on the test. So you do not need a formula sheet for the test, okay? So let's see if we can find an example for it. So what if we needed to convert let's convert 215 centimeters to meters, okay? So if we had 200, this is what it would look like on the test, centimeters equals blank meters. That's how the problem looks. And it tells you to fill in the blank and go to 3 decimal places when needed, okay? So we know that centimeters to meters is going to be 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. And again, I'll give you this on the test. Any conversions you need, I will give them to you, okay? So what we do is we take 215 centimeters, multiply it. Our conversion is 1 meter into 100 centimeters. And you need that to be on bottom so you can do this cancellation here, okay? And then you just 215 divided by 100 is going to be 2.15 meters. And that's your answer, okay? And again, I'll give you the conversions, okay? Let's try another one. What if we were going to do this way? What if we were going to do 4 meters equals centimeters, okay? Again, 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. I will give you that. So 4 meters times, this time 100 centimeters are going to be on top and 1 meter because we need to cancel this meters here. Now 4 times 100 is 400 centimeters. Okay? And that's how we do that. And again, I will give you those conversions. So you'll have 4 of those to do. You'll do one with meters and kilometers, inches, yards, and liters. And again, I give you the conversions. So practice those conversions, okay? Alright, the next type of problem you're going to do is going to be to use the rules for multiplying and dividing and to do your multiplications, okay? So if you have, let's see. Hold on just a second, So if we have something like, this is going to be, I think this was in the appendix stuff, okay? So let's look at one. Use the rules for multiplication and division to find the value of each of the following. Go 3 decimals if necessary. So if we have something like 450 centimeters times 18.5 centimeters times 215 centimeters. So when you multiply 450 times 18.5 times 215, you end up with 1,789,875. Now, centimeters times centimeters times centimeters, remember, is going to be centimeters cubed. Okay? So make sure that you're good with that and that you understand how that works, okay? Now, you'll have 2 kinds of that problem. And I'm trying to find where the homework was. Here we go. And the next type you're going to have, you may have one that is a division. So if we had something like this, let's do this one. 58.0 kilograms times 2.40 meters second squared. All that divided by 5.40 meters. Okay? So now we're going to have to figure out how to simplify this, okay? So when you multiply all this out, you're going to end up with 6.866, and it keeps going, kilograms, meters, second squared. Okay? Now you want to get this to kilometers, that's what you want your answer to be in. But see, you have meters here and seconds squared. You see all that? Well, this meters is going to be meters squared and seconds squared. Okay? So to simplify this, you have to say, it's easier just to separate it. Kilograms, meters, seconds squared, divided by meters. Okay? And that's going to equal kilograms, meters squared, second squared, because you've got to multiply the squared here, divided by meters. So you cancel 1 meter here, okay? So that gives you kilograms, meters, because you still have a meter here, and divided by second squared. And that's how you get the answer to that, okay? So just kind of practice that. The one on the test isn't quite that hard, but you do have to cancel the meters, okay? Alright, the next type is solving equations. So when we solve an equation for like x, for instance, that's going to be in the appendix part, appendix A, and where we start solving equations. Okay, so that's going to be appendix A dot 3. Alright. So again, you're just going to solve for each equation. You're going to have 4 of these. Actually, you're going to have 5 of these, okay, where you solve for x. Okay. So the first kind that you're going to have is something like this. So if you have 3 times x minus 4 equals 15. Whoops. Remember, you've got to distribute this 3, okay? So that's going to be 3x minus 12 equals 15. Now once you do that, you need to get x by itself, remember? So whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other. So since this is negative 12, you're going to add 12 to both sides. So you're going to add 12 to both sides. And that's going to be 3x, because that cancels, equals 27. Make that 3 better. 3x equals 27. We still got to get x by itself, and since this is a multiplication, you're going to divide both sides by 3. So it's going to be 3x divided by 3. That's going to cancel. Equals 27 divided by 3. So x is going to equal 9. Okay? So again, you're going to have 5 of these type. Let's look at one more where you have x on both sides of the equation. So what if you had this? 2x minus 3x plus 15 equals 4x. 4x minus 1. Okay? So first of all, we need to get rid of these parentheses. Now remember, on this one, the negative, you got to distribute it through it. Okay? So that's going to be 2x minus 3x minus 15 equals 4x minus 1. Okay? So now we can get rid of this 2x minus 3x. So you're just going to have a negative x. You can just drop the 1. Minus 15 equals 4x minus 1. Now we need to add x to both sides to get rid of this x right here. So when we add x to both sides, that's going to give us, this is going to cancel. That's going to give us minus 15 equals 4x plus x is 5x minus 1. Okay? So now we can add 1 to both sides. See, we want to get this 1 over here, okay? So plus 1 to both sides. So that's going to cancel that. So that's going to give us minus 14 equals 5x. Okay? Now we want to get x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 5. So that's going to be minus 14 divided by 5 equals 5x divided by 5. That's going to cancel that. And x is going to equal minus 2.8. Okay, so that one had several steps. So you may have something like that, okay? Let's do one. Yeah, I think that's good on those, okay? So you'll have 5 of those. Now the next type you're going to have is quadratic equations, okay? So you're going to have to solve for quadratic equations. So you're going to have 3 of these. And remember, you will have 2 answers for each one of these equations. Make sure you remember that, okay? These questions will be multiple choice, but again, if you want partial credit, you need to scan in your partial credit and send it to me, okay? So that way I can give you partial credit if you make a mistake. Now, I won't give you partial credit if you've totally done the problem wrong, but if you just made a few little errors, then I'll give you partial credit. So to solve a quadratic equation, let's look at one. If we have x squared equals 16, okay? Remember that the quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is not equal to 0. So to solve the quadratic, you square the root of both sides. We got to get rid of this x squared, okay? So we square root both sides. That's going to get rid of this square, so that's going to be x equals plus or minus 4. And that's where the 2 answers come for. And on the test, it'll show you like plus 4, minus 4. And that will be your 2 answers, okay? Now what if you had one like this? What if you had 2x squared minus 18 equals 0? Now again, you've got to get this x by itself. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to add 18 to both sides. Okay? When you do that, that's going to get rid of this. You're going to have 2x squared, 2x squared equals 18. Okay, now we're going to get the 2 by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 2. So that's going to give us x squared equals 9. Okay? Again, now we need to take the square root of both sides. That's going to get rid of that square. So x is going to equal plus or minus 3. Or plus 3 minus 3. Okay? So you're going to have 3 of those type. Alright? The next kind of problems you're going to have is where you have to use a calculator to find each trig ratio and you round to 4 digits. Okay? So you're going to find like cosine 40 degrees, sine 71 degrees, things like that, okay? So pretty easy. You just put it in your calculator and you're going to put in, it depending on what kind you have, but if you have the calculator we suggest, you'll put in 40 and then you'll hit the cosine button, okay? Some of them you'll take cosine and put it in parentheses 40 and hit the button. But for an example would be cosine 40 degrees. So if you hit 40 in cosine, you end up with 0.7660. You're going to round to 4 digits, and that's why we have 4 digits there, okay? So you're going to have 2 of those type. Make sure you know how to do cosine, sine, and tangent on each one of those. Now the next type you're going to find, you're going to round to the nearest tenth of a degree. Now this one you're going to use inverse sine or inverse tan or inverse cosine, and I'll remind you that on the test so you'll remember. But if you have something like, let me find a good example here. If you have something like cosine A equals 0.9406, okay? How do you find out what A is? So you're going to take the inverse sine of it. So you have to get it to this side of the equation. So for instance, A would equal cosine to the negative 1 times 0.9406. So A is going to be 19.8 degrees. Okay? So you're going to have 2 of those type. Alright? So just make sure you practice those. And they were on homework 671, the 11 through 22 type. Make sure you can work those. The next type you're going to have is where we we use the Pythagorean theorem, and we find the two missing sides and one missing angle. And those are going to be from pages yeah, it's the same stuff. So page 671, okay? So let me pause it for just a minute. Okay. Alright, the next type is going to be a triangle, okay? So what we do is we draw the triangle. So if we have something like this, B, little a, C, 13 feet, 19 feet, and big A, okay? So what we want to find here is we're going to find angle A, and so the angles are always big A, okay, or big B. We're going to find angle B, and then we're going to find side little a, because that's the only side we don't have, okay? So you're going to have to use your side adjacent and things like that, okay? So cosine. So remember, cosine A equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Alright? So we have the two sides here, so we can do that. So cosine A equals 13 feet over 19 feet, and that's going to equal 0.684. Okay? So now we can find the two angles. So B we know equals 90 degrees. So minus the A equals 90 degrees. So we solve for A. When we do that, we can find out that first you've got to find A equals 47 degrees, okay, and you do that in Appendix D. After you do that part, then you subtract the 47 degrees, okay, so that's going to be 90 minus 47 equals 43 degrees. So that gives us our B, our angle B, okay? Now to find our side A, you're going to say sine A equals our opposite over hypotenuse. So sine 47, because we know that degrees, okay, equals A, we don't know that, divided by 19 feet. We do know the hypotenuse. So you're going to have to solve for that. So here you're going to have to multiply 19 feet by both sides to get rid of this. So that's going to be sine 47 times 19 feet equals A. So when you solve that, A equals 14 feet. And that's how you solve for all the sides and the cosines. Okay? So you're going to have two of those. Pretty easy ones, not hard at all. The second type you're going to do is, you're going to have two bonuses. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to do those, but it's just the quadratic equations, okay? So you're going to have two quadratic equations for the bonus. And remember, on those, you're going to have to do plus or minus, okay? So you're going to have two answers. And that's it. Once you do that, you're good, and you will do great on this test. Take your time, and I'll write up what exactly you need to do, okay? Hope you guys have a good day.